Hi, I'm Kate. Welcome to Blooms in the Yard. Over the winter, I plan on making a couple of videos sharing some of the garden designs I have done this fall for people I know and kind of people I've met through people I know. When people come see my garden, sometimes they want me to help them with their own yard. And so this fall, I think I've had about 4 people ask me to help them come up with designs for their yard. Sometimes I do the installation, sometimes I just give them the plan and layout and they do it on their own. I'm not really looking to start a landscape business because at one point I thought that might be something I'd be interested in, but I'm not really interested in hiring a crew or anything, and I have definitely figured out that physically I cannot do it all myself. So I have had some jobs where I'm doing all the installation and it's a bit much. But I do really enjoy designing spaces for people. In fact, I have a friend, she didn't ask me to design a space for her, but I just stopped by her house and saw this big retaining wall in shade, and I was like, she needs a climbing hydrangea, and so I bought her one and I'm bringing it to her tomorrow. She hasn't asked for it, but she did say that at some point she might want some help. But anyway, when I'm at people's houses, I often think, oh, that would look good there. So it's kind of fun when people ask for advice on what to do. This video is a friend of mine. She hired me to do a landscape plan for her entire yard, and she just moved in recently. It's a house built in 2020, so it's a pretty new build. The former owners had planted some shade trees, so got those going. That's a great place to start. And they had landscaped around the front porch area. But what they did with the front porch area wasn't working out that well. So that was the main area that they wanted to start with and rework that. So they asked me to come in and give them some ideas. She doesn't want to do a lot of annuals. She wants pretty low maintenance, perennials, bushes. And she eventually would like to have pathways and kind of have it be all full of plants. But for now, they still have kids. They want to keep the lawn. And their main goal was to get some shade and some privacy. Because it's a newer house, they just are seeing all of their neighbors. I'm just going to focus on phase 1 for them. I did not want to lay out the entire yard with all of the paths and plants everywhere because I thought that would just be really overwhelming for her. So I'm focusing on where can we put plants that will get her the shade and privacy that she's wanting right now, and also some blooms. She wants some color and some flowers throughout the year. Some of the struggles with new builds can be the soil because all that construction turns the topsoil over, and so you're left with not great dirt to plant in. And the other, especially in Kansas, big problem is that there's just no shade, there's no shelter. It's kind of like just building your house in the middle of a big sunny field. And that can be pretty unpleasant to hang out in. And it's also really hard on the plants because there's no, even if a plant says full sun in Kansas, when it's over 95 degrees every day, it could use a little bit of relief from that hot sun. I certainly don't claim to be an expert on landscape design, and hardscaping is not my thing. What I do know is hey, these are plants that are pretty easy to grow in this area. You're probably not going to struggle with black-eyed Susans and daisies, and I can suggest some shrubs for her to try. So here's what I came up with for her. So in the front, the main area that we wanted to work on was the area just to the left of the porch. This area had been done by the previous owners. So it has hostas, which it's north facing, so that would kind of make sense, but the hostas were out a little bit too far away from the house and were getting burned from some late afternoon sun. So those need to be moved. And then they also have some large sea green junipers, which those are a little bit closer to the house, and those are not going to get enough sun in time. I'm actually surprised that they're doing as well as they are here, but they also just get pretty large pretty quickly, and so the homeowners have already been having to trim them more than they would like to. So they do want to try to reuse things as much as possible, and so I'm going to try to use those large sea green junipers in other places in their landscape. There's also a lilac all the way in the back of this area. It's in total shade. It's obviously not doing well in front of that window. So those are the reasons why they wanted to get rid of what was there. What she really wants is color and flowers, and she said that she wants perennials. She doesn't want to mess with annuals. I was trying to choose things that she would have some blooms at different times throughout the year. I wanted something that blooms pretty consistently along that front edge, and so I put Rose Marvel Salvia, which has performed really well for me. Behind that, I have Sunshine Ligustrum, because even though it's not flowering, it is bright and gives you some color all year. Behind that, I did 2 little quick fire hydrangeas, which I absolutely love. I think that the blooms age really well and they don't flop. I'm just a big fan of those. So I have put 2 on the left side of the porch, and then to tie the whole area together, I have put 1 little quick fire hydrangea on the right side of the porch, which we'll look at that area next. I did put a clematis on a little trellis as a little bit of a focal point in this area. I really love the multi-blue clematis, so that was what I suggested to them, and I've seen it at box stores, so kind of easy to find. And I have found that clematis can do pretty well in part sun situation. And then to the right, I have put, I don't think you can even see it in this picture, but a boxwood basically right in front of the column to the porch. And then I put a U on this left side behind the little quick fire on that side. And the yew and the boxwood are going to give us that evergreen interest. I did go ahead and reuse the 3 hostas, and I put them just to the left of the porch in the shade. And then behind all of this, I have a native turtle head, which will do really well in the shade. To anchor the whole space, I have this Bloodgood Japanese maple. Here is my blueprint for this front porch area, if anyone is interested in that. Take a screenshot if you want. To the right of the front entrance, you see why they wanted to put some plantings here, because you can really see that painted concrete. You can kind of see that it's partially painted. And of course, they did want to reuse any of the plants that they could. And so I used one of those sea green junipers on this corner edge here. It's evergreen, so it'll keep that foundation hidden all year. I'm hopeful that they will be able to use it, even though it's pretty big. I hope that it can be transplanted for them. And here it will get a lot more sun. And then I've also given them another little quick fire hydrangea just to the left of the sea green juniper to match the left side of their porch. And then they wanted some privacy from their neighbors when they're sitting on their front porch. Totally understandable. So on this west side, I suggested that they put a really simple lattice trellis and a honeysuckle vine, which would be planted in the ground. My Photoshop job, you can't kind of tell that. It would be growing all the way up from the ground. And then along the west side of the house, I have alternated Gold Mound Spirea with Blue Star Juniper. I really like this combination of foliage. They look wonderful together in the spring with the chartreuse foliage on the Spirea and the blue foliage on the juniper, and then the pink flowers on the Spirea as well. So because this house was built in 2020, it does not have any mature trees yet, but they do have some nice trees planted here that will eventually get big. They have a tulip tree and a black locust tree. They also have a crabapple and an apple tree. They're wanting some privacy in the meantime before these trees grow up. So what they've asked for is something closer to the patio to give them some privacy for now. Their backyard faces south, full sun, blazing hot Kansas sun. So I had to choose all plants that can take that. They're also wanting a better way to give them some shade when they're sitting on their patio. So they knew that they wanted a pergola, but they weren't quite sure where they wanted to put it. I suggested putting it right when they come out of their little breakfast area here, right when they come out the door, because basically I wanted it on the west side of the patio, because that way when the sun shines from the west, it will actually shade more of the patio. If you put it on the east side of the patio when the sun shines from the west, most of the patio is going to be in the sun in the evening when you're sitting there. For the plantings, I went ahead and gave them 3 Blue Point junipers because I thought those grow fairly fast. They'll have some privacy pretty quickly and a little bit of shade coming from that south side. And then again, I just went for plants that can take our hot sun. So I gave them some Black-Eyed Susans, which are the yellow flowers, in front of the 3 Blue Point junipers. And she had specifically said that she wanted to grow lavender. So these purple flowers are lavender. If she had not specifically asked for lavender, I probably would not suggest it. I don't think it's the easiest thing to grow here in Kansas. Catmint would be an alternative that's a lot easier to grow and has a similar look. But she said she's grown lavender before, and so I'll let her have her lavender. To the left of the Blue Point junipers, I have put a catalpa. This is not something that I have grown myself, but I've heard really good things about it. I'd love to try it if I had the space. It's the El Nino catalpa, 10 to 15 feet tall, 8 to 10 feet wide. But here in Kansas, this is gonna die back to the ground for us in winter, so I'm thinking it probably will not get that big. It's gonna act similar to a crepe myrtle, if you guys are familiar with that. So I'm hoping they're as hardy as the crepe myrtle. Like I've never had a crepe myrtle die on me, but they do die back to the ground and come back every year, but get to be a decent size, not a tree, but get to be a decent sized bush. And I've heard that the catalpa get pretty big, even though they die back to the ground. So I did suggest to her that she plant some spring bulbs around the base of this catalpa to give her some interest in spring, because similar to like a hardy hibiscus or a crepe myrtle, they're going to leaf out late. If we shift a little bit to the right here, I've given her a way to get in and out of the patio. There are 3 entrances in and out of the patio in my design. I told her you can either do a really big stepping stone and have it be like in the mulched planted area, or you can have the grass come all the way up to the patio, and that would be like a little grass path through the mulch to the patio. So she can do all 3 stepping stones or all 3 grass, or she can switch it up and do it however she wants. The plants to the right of the stepping stone are Dark Towers penstemon, or you could do Husker Red penstemon. They're pretty similar, both good performers. Dark red foliage looks really nice in summer. The light pink or kind of whitish blooms, depending on which variety you get, look great in May. To give them some privacy from the neighbor on their east side, I told them to try a Kindred Spirit Oak, which I'm a big fan of. I recently planted one in my yard. Beyond that, I don't know if you can see it very well, but on either side of this east entrance, where you would step onto the patio, I have put a catmint and a crepe myrtle. In the raised bed, she said that she's wanting to grow some cut flowers. I suggested that she try zinnias and dahlias. Here's the blueprint for this whole back patio area. The white rectangles on this are those stepping stones that she would use to get from the lawn to the patio. And she could choose, again, if she wants to do the stepping stone or if she wants to do a grass path, she can mix it up. And you can see that both entrances on the east and west are flanked by a catmint and a crepe myrtle on either side, which both of those bloom for a really long time here. Catmint's gonna start blooming earlier, but will re-bloom. And then the crepe myrtles will start blooming later, but bloom for quite a long time. Next, we're going to look at her back fence line. So you can see that there are some trees, but they aren't grown in yet. In the back corner here is an apple tree, and closer in this photo is a crab apple. So in my design, the apple tree is in the planting bed where it will be mulched, and the crab apple would be in the lawn. Here we have a little bit of screening with the neighbor's large tree sort of to the left. And eventually we'll have this tulip tree in the homeowner's yard to the right. So what I want to do is plant a large evergreen kind of between those two to make a more solid screen. I've chosen a green giant arborvitae. The only really special needs that this has is a lot of water. She did say that the water tends to run to this area along the fence line, so that should work pretty well. If we go from right to left here in the corner, I have a spilled wine weigela, or wine and roses, whichever one's easier for her to find at that moment. In this design, I've repeated that weigela all the way to the left in the other corner of the yard. And then we have 3 catmint. Behind those 3 catmint, I have an opulus viburnum. Then they have some burning bushes currently along the back edge. They were given to them for free, and so they just planted them along this back edge. They're not looking fabulous right now, but they'll probably be fine. So I told them, if they want to keep some burning bushes there, instead of having this straight line, we could just keep some random burning bushes there and then plant other things in amongst them. I did tell them that, these are kind of invasive, and a better option would be to try a 9-bark if they want, some interesting foliage, but, they have them and I think they'd like to use them. So next would be either this burning bush or 9-bark to the left of the snowball viburnum. Then I put some black-eyed Susans, which are the yellow flowers. And then the large evergreen shrub is from their front porch area. It's one of those sea green junipers again. Hopefully they'll be able to transplant it. If so, great. If they can't transplant, the sea green junipers are pretty easy to find, pretty affordable, and grow relatively quickly. To the left of that, I have some salvia. And then on to the left of the green giant arborvitae, I have a little more black-eyed Susans. Behind that, I have put some tall lilies, which are very easy to grow here. To the left of that, the larger sort of purplish red bush is a smoke bush, purple smoke bush. And then I have some of the burning bushes that she already had, along with some daisies. Again, they can switch those out for 9-barks. And then we have that existing crabapple. And then all the way to the left, we have some more salvia. Here's the blueprint for the entire backyard. We've just gone along this bottom edge here, along the fence line. So all the way in the bottom right, you can see the apple tree. And then just to the left of the apple tree, we have the salvia where we ended in our last photo. In front of the apple tree, I have put some catmint and then the weigela all the way in the corner. She might need more plants than what I have in this plan, but I gave her a document of like, hey, these are the perennials and bushes that I suggest here in Kansas, kind of categorized according to sun and shade, and so she can add in. I know that she's interested in getting into gardening, so this is hopefully like a good place for her to start, and she can add more as she learns and experiments. This area is under their living room window. It's just to the left of their breakfast area and patio, and she had an existing button bush, which is a native. They do pretty well here, so I thought there's no reason to take that out. They also have a rose of Sharon, which was further in the corner, and they moved it out. So it's not looking great right now because it's recently been transplanted, but I think that it will be okay. The main thing that I did here was to add 3 spirea bushes. Gold Mound spirea or the double play, doozy, candy corn, any of those are gonna do well. Spirea are just really hardy. They can take our hot sun, and so it's a plant that I suggest a lot. That's low maintenance and it's gonna perform well. Then all the way to the right is that crepe myrtle, which is again gonna be on either side of our little patio entrances. All the way to the left, I have put that 3rd sea green juniper from their front porch area. So a little bit of nice evergreen right on the corner there for them. The last area we're going to look at is this little strip of planting on the east side of their house. So this is to the left of their garage if you're looking at the front of the house. They had some existing daylilies, which I didn't want to overwhelm her with too many plants and too much to do. So my suggestion here was just divide those daylilies and fill the area in. And then I added a little quick fire hydrangea behind all of that to kind of repeat what's happening on the other side of their house. And then they have this existing zebra grass along the back, which I thought looked really nice. No reason to mess with that. So I've given them a lot to work on. I didn't want to make this area a big deal. So that is my design for the Johnsons. I hope that this was helpful for you. I mean, even in like looking back at it, I'm like, oh, maybe I should have put like a taller tree on that one corner. So I know that my design is not perfect. I'm not a landscape architect. I'm not putting in like infrastructure and paths and all of that stuff. I know that they're on a bit of a budget. They just wanted some trees and some privacy. And so this is not a perfect plan, but the thing that I feel like I kind of specialize in is like plants that are easy to grow. I'm not going to suggest things to people that are not like, for the most part, foolproof. And so that is what I did for them. And I hope that you guys being able to see it might help you if you live in an area with some extreme cold and hot temperatures. These might be some plants that you could try, and just kind of looking at some things that I think about, like east exposure, west exposure, full sun, north, those kinds of things. So thanks for joining me. Like I said, I am going to be sharing a couple more of these design plans that I've been working on this fall over the course of the winter, and I'm excited to share them with you. One of them I installed myself, so I will show that. Thanks for watching and have a great day.